Kelsey Mitchell's streak of 20 or more points scored in a game has extended to what I believe is 17, thanks to a 20-point first half the other night. I want to be crystal clear, okay? I recognize the greatness of Caitlin Clark. I feel like I have to say that every time I talk about her, else I'm like racist. I don't know. But I want to be clear, okay? Going back to what I said earlier, there are definitions that we have to define. If you are talking about value, my only stake when it comes to Kelsey Mitchell being more valuable to the Fever than Caitlin Clark is Caitlin Clark missed 4 games this season. In the 4 games that she missed, the Fever won the games. I don't care who they played because the argument is always and has always been in sports, you play the teams that are in front of you. In the 4 games Caitlin Clark missed, the Fever won those games. Kelsey Mitchell was the best player on the floor. So that's the value argument for me. When it comes to the most aspect of it, this is where the question comes from, and I want to get your thoughts on this genuinely. If you individually are the most valuable player in the league, and this kind of feeds on the live and fee thing, I struggle with the idea then that both Caitlin and Kelsey are MVP candidates when they're on the same team. And that is not me trying to force people to pick one or the other. That is not me trying to pit Caitlin and Kelsey against each other. As I said in the clip, this is by far the best backcourt in the league. But I'm just thinking about it from a standpoint of Asia Wilson has Jackie Young. I get it, but there's a clear hierarchy there, right? Olivia Miles has Nafisa Collier or Courtney Williams or whoever you want to say that second fiddle. There's a clear hierarchy there, at least in the context of this season. There are nights when you can go either 1A, 1B. And if we're talking about an MVP, I'm just struggling to see how they are both MVP candidates, which is why I'm saying if we're picking one player from the Fever to be the MVP candidate, like if it's just send your best representative, to me, it has to be Kelsey Mitchell because she's played more games. They won without Caitlin. She was effective without Caitlin. She's proven that she can be effective without Caitlin. She is also, and we got into this a little bit as well in that same episode, she is also their go-to player down the stretch more so than Caitlin Clark is. In that game against the Aces that they lost thanks to the magic and heroics of Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Mitchell scored or assisted. And I'm saying it that way because that's the thing that we love to talk about with Caitlin Clark is points responsible for, scored or assisted. Kelsey Mitchell scored or assisted on 17 of the Fever's points in the fourth quarter and overtime. Caitlin Clark scored or assisted on 12. Now, that is a very small sample size. Obviously, Caitlin Clark leads it in the grand scheme of things. But that, against the Aces, in that setting, at home, in that type of environment, for Kelsey Mitchell to be the player that is scoring or assisting and contributing to their success more than Caitlin Clark is, to me, that points to her being more valuable. Again, I get it. We're splitting hairs. It's a preference thing. We kind of talked about that last night with aesthetic preference, which I believe someone in the comments brought up, which I think is a great way to kind of preface all of this. So I'm going to pose this now to you guys. Number one, is it possible for both of these very talented players to be an MVP candidate? And then number two, if you had to choose one, where are you leaning on as far as who is more of an MVP candidate than the other, I guess, if that's a clear way to kind of explain it.
Can I go first this time?
Absolutely.
So, yes, it is possible. Not during this season, though, because one is significantly better than the other. And I watched the entire game of basketball and not just watch what the worldwide leader or what the WNBA socials feed sends me. So when I tell you that it's possible for Caitlin Clark to be a top 25 player in the WNBA, to be an all-star, but to not even be on my ballot for first or second team all WNBA, I say that not as a hater, but as someone who recognizes that the biggest floor raiser on the Fever is Kelsey Mitchell. They're 10 points better per 100 possessions when she's on the floor than when she's off. Caitlin, of all 9 rotation players on the Indiana Fever, if you include Raven, she would be 10th on this list, has the 9th out of 10 rotation players on-off net on the team. They are 8.2 points better per 100 possessions when she sits than when she plays.
Wow. That is a staggering stat. Like that, not staggering, but that is a very it's surprising. It's honestly it's a surprising stat.
And there are reasons why this can be the case, because we can poke holes in on-off net, because a lot of the time what coaches do is they say, I've got a really good player. I'm going to let them buoy a second unit. And they basically hold serve. That's not what's happening with Caitlin. She plays the vast majority of her minutes with the best lineups that the Fever have to offer. She is not carrying bench units. She is almost always playing with at least one of AB and Kelsey Mitchell, and most of the time playing with two. And then when Sophie Cunningham comes in the game, which this will get me in a little bit of trouble, because like I do not stand for anything that she represents off the court, but as an on the court talent, she has the #1 offensive rating in the entire WNBA.
And leading the league in 3-point percentage, if I'm not mistaken.
So like I see a lot of people doing like the whole, cardio. I get that, and I empathize with it. And whether or not it's objective, I would understand if anyone failed to be objective when it comes to someone who's saying the type of things that this woman is saying. However, what I look at when I look at the whole Fever conversation, I have believed Caitlin Clark has been the third best player on the Fever for 3 years in a row now. And that doesn't make her bad. That just means that there are things that come into play here. I mean, I thought Aaliyah Boston was a legitimate MVP candidate last year. The way
she was very good. She was very good last year.
Hell, if we're talking about MVP candidates, and I don't think it's her either, but she added a 3-point shot to her game and is damn near the leader in the league in 3-point percentage as well. Caitlin is known for being a 3-point shooter. There are like 5 better 3-point shooters on the Indiana Fever than her. She assists the ball at a remarkable rate. They play at a slower pace when she's on the floor because she holds the basketball, pounds it into the ground over and over and over and over again, and then dishes it off and either makes a turnover, makes a bucket, draws a foul, or sets up a teammate. This doesn't mean it's a bad thing. She can absorb the offense and she can alleviate the burden from her other superstar teammates. But what I'm telling you is that her teammates this entire season have had to work harder with her on the floor. And this is more into the anecdotal stuff, but it is a various data trend to follow. How can you be the MVP or in the MVP conversation and your coach has to get your ass off the floor every time there is a possession late in the game that you need to get a stop on?
That's the quiet part, Dan. That's the quiet part out loud right there.
So y'all, clear all-star. Generational ability in floor stretching and court vision. Her game has not progressed since she's been in the WNBA. And I'll say that with my entire chest. And she's still an all-star. But guys, we got to use our entire basketball brain. And just because Rebecca Lobo and Ryan Ruocco get on ESPN and say, oh, it's been 5 great games, she's played herself into the MVP conversation. I do not have to stomach that bullshit. So I don't usually go this way, but like Caitlin is excellent. And she is not the greatest player in the WNBA. She is not even remotely in my MVP conversation, but I am not one of the people who I have to process like the psychology of the voters or anything. I just have strong basketball opinions and I respect the game. And so I refuse to kowtow to this like rabid thing that goes on over and over again when I have eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Before you go, Martin, I would just like to say, number one, I don't get to see Dan Red very often. That was kind of cool. Number 2, though, I hope that maybe because the messenger is a little fairer skinned than I, that what Dan just said, which is what I have been saying for quite some time on this show without all the eloquent numbers to back it up, can be received a little bit better. Because every time I say what Dan just said, I'm like racist and I'm jealous and I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm all types of N-words. So we'll see how this plays on the socials. But I appreciate the fervor and the passion there. Because it's all true.
And those of us who are reasonable. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
The last thing I'll say is I am speaking more against the rabid ecosphere of conversation than the actual player herself.
Yeah.
Caitlin needs to improve, but she's got assistant coaches and she's a freaking professional basketball player in the best women's basketball league in the entire world. She, I believe, will improve. I hope she will improve because she's enough of a floor raiser in different areas that would be a waste of her generational talents for her not to improve. And with her deficiencies, I still think she's clearly like a top 20 player in the WNBA. Sorry if you think I'm a hater, but like this is the best in the world. This is not participation trophy land. As much as we want to turn the WNBA into the WWE, where the babyface gets whatever they want, and we're all in kayfabe, and we're all just like, whoa, like this is the best player that's ever existed. I will not do that because I respect the game of basketball.
Well,
And-
kayfabe is dead, Dan. So
Right. It's kayfabe's not a good thing anymore, huh? That's retired.
Thank you. Sorry. I usually only get 500 characters, so
okay, this is a safe space to talk about women's basketball. This is where you want to talk about it. This is the place to talk.
Yeah, and from the beginning of I mean, I've been talking about Caitlin since her freshman year of college. Any player, we talk about Angel Reese. We all love Angel here. We talk plenty about area. I know I do talk plenty about. So do you, Dan? Plenty about areas where she needs to improve.
Mm-hmm.
But we also highlight the areas where she's special. And you should be able to do that about any player, no matter how great you think they actually are or you think they are. Everyone has things to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? And I forgot to kind of mention this in our discussion last night about Asia. It's no secret that Asia Wilson doesn't go right a whole lot, people. The best in the world, there's still things we can poke at, right? So like this is the nature of being a hooper, a player, an athlete. Like there's always things to improve on. So I think with Caitlin, when I've watched her, one thing I will say, and I'll defend her on, I am with you, Dan, on like her game is pretty much the same as it is when she came in. Like I'll give you that, like at a glance, I'll give you that. Like watching her a lot these last few years, it pretty much is. Like it pretty much is. I think you alluded to it. We mentioned it, I think, pre-show, but she's been playing really well lately. She'll go through spurts where she, you know what I mean? Like she'll really be on, and you know what I mean? Like she'll go through these kind of spurts. I will say at times, like I'm seeing in terms of just improvement, like I think progression versus improvement, right? Progression would mean like her game looks totally revamped and remodeled and updated. Right. And certain things are becoming more habits and not just every now and then. I think improvement, I have seen slight improvement, especially lately. I've seen her go to floaters for the first time. I've seen her going to the midi stuff. She's got a turnaround thing she's been working with. I've been seeing that all season. I put up a clip on Instagram, literally showing the 3 shots that could change Caitlin Clark's whole scoring life. And she did them in all 3 of them in one game. It was a floater, it was a midi, and it was a little turnaround counter. And so like she is like, I am seeing some improvements. I am in spots. Basketball wise though, she's predictable. And if we're going to bring it back to the MVP thing, I think Marcus, you made a great point. Dan, you made great points about like, she would have to have a much wider gap between her and Kelsey Mitchell, and even to your point, Dan, Aaliyah Boston, but particularly Kelsey Mitchell, for her to be the, as you put it, Marcus, like the bona fide candidate for MVP out of the Fever, and between her and Kelsey, like the thing about like predictability. Anyone accusing Kelsey Mitchell of being predictable?
Hell no.
And that woman is, the only thing predictable about her is that she's going by everybody. No one can stay in front of her. But they run her on off all kinds of actions. Mm-hmm. She can create shots that Caitlin just can't. She's a harder problem, and her at least her scoring numbers are better than Caitlin. But like again, I like to always put myself in the shoes of like the opposing team, either the player or even the coach. How much am I having to like think, and how much am I really going and thinking this player is really about to give us I don't know how I'm really about to stop this player tonight. Every time I watch Kelsey Mitchell, man, she's just scoring at a high clip. It doesn't matter if it's a contest. Sometimes she'll take shots. It's like contested. I'm like, swish. She just makes it. She's like, her efficiency is nuts for her shot volume. And just for how, just how she's continuously going and hunting shots and getting, and she keeps scoring. And so, yeah, I don't think Caitlin has shown a true mastery and consistent dominance. Her numbers are her greatest case across the board, as far as like, averages, like points, assists, like, the totals, as you alluded to, Marcus, like the points that she contributes to, assists on, like, she, numbers wise, you can make certain cases for her. But, to your eloquent rant, Dan, and part of what you said, like, watching basketball and then having certain eyes for like what you're watching in basketball can give you better discernment on like, okay, I can acknowledge that she looks really good looks great and really in certain spots, but to be MVP, I mean, we talked about it with trying to compete with an Asia Wilson for MVP.
Mhm.
You'd have to be clearly better than at least your own team, and at least Kelsey Mitchell for us to be right. And if we're questioning that, then it can't be you.
And I would even say, like, even if we take the Asia Wilson component out of it, right, and we just compare her with Olivia Miles, we compare her to obviously her teammate Kelsey Mitchell, we even compare her to like a Paige, and even if you want to throw Stewie in there, who up until like a week or so ago was top 5 in odds, again, regardless of how you define MVP, whether it's the best player on the best team or most valuable, the Fever are not the best team in the league right now. So she doesn't have that feather in her cap.
Right.
So she has to be undeniably the best player on her team.
She'd have to be insane. She'd have to be going nuts. Like she'd have to be going nuts.
She can from time to time.
And she can be. And she does. That's the thing.
And
that's my thing. We have seen her go out there and be the best player on the Fever. None of us are up here making it seem like that's not the case.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, when you can go and you play 3 games out of the week, in game 1, it's Caitlin. In game 2, it's Kelsey Mitchell. In game 3, it's Aaliyah Boston. It doesn't matter how you shake out. The fact of the matter remains that on any given night, it's not always you, right? If I go turn on an Aces game, more often than not, it's Asia Wilson. And even in a game where Chelsea Gray hits 2 crazy shots that we've never seen happen before, and she starts the game with 2 points in the first half, she still finishes with almost 20 and is still hitting and accounting for every point the Aces scored in that game, except for the 2 3-pointers that Chelsea Gray hit down the stretch of that game. So you still have that. We know what Olivia Miles is. We know what Kelsey Mitchell is. The thing with Caitlin Clark that I think has yet to register for a lot of these people is Caitlin Clark, and I said this to Rachel Demita earlier this year for House of Highlights. A lot of people out here who act like Caitlin Clark is this blameless basketball entity, and she's not. And if you can look at it objectively and be like, yes, there are areas that she does not excel in. There are areas where she needs to work on. Because as you mentioned, Martin, if the best in the business has something that she needs to work on, then you're not going to convince me that players 2 through 100, whatever, have just a perfectly flawless game if the player that we all universally acknowledge is the best in the world has something to work on. The last thing I'll say on it is this. I don't doubt the fact that Caitlin Clark will win an MVP in her career. I think she will. I don't doubt the fact that there will become a time when Caitlin Clark is undeniably maybe is the best player on the Indiana Fever. But when you loop in all of the context, you loop in the Asia Wilson context, you loop in the Olivia Miles context, you loop in the context of the Indiana Fever, it requires Caitlin Clark to play, if we're being honest, the way she played at Iowa. Like, it requires her to look like that, where she's the reason that they're out here slaying Goliaths and competing for championships. And so far up to this point in her career, even if we just want to cut the first year and 13 games and look at this season, up to this point, we have not seen her have that level of impact on the Indiana Fever consistently. Yeah, she gave us the first ever 45-10. Yeah, she's out here with more 2010 games up to this point in her career than anyone else. Yes, she's already she already has the highest assists per game average in league history for her career. I get all of that. But if Caitlin Clark's going to win an MVP in any part in her career, we need to look at Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever the way that we looked at Caitlin Clark when she was an Iowa Hawkeye. We ain't got there yet. So until we get there, I feel like it's only fair and only just if we say all the things that Dan said, all-star, all WNBA caliber player, exceptional at her position, still has things to work on, and she's still not there yet, but she's shown that she can get there. And here's the thing. We're all fans of basketball. When she gets there, we're all going to love it. We're all going to love it.
Right.
So it's not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
I'll put it this way. The MVP version of Caitlin Clark, guys, will know what to do in that situation one-on-one against Asia Wilson.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. That version, an MVP version of Caitlin, that possession would look different. She wouldn't have looked as helpless as she did and lost, frankly, where, you know, again, it's Asia, but still, like, you should be able to get a shot off. Like, she didn't even try to shoot. She was looking to pass the ball. It's like MVP version of Caitlin. I put out, I forget exactly what they were now because I did them on the day of the show, our episode, we were talking about the best guards, Dan, and I just wrote down for myself who I think are point guards and shooting guards, just overall guards, like the 5 best guards in the league right now. And I was trying to think of like my main criteria, so I wrote that down. But I remember one of them was command, just like you know what I mean? Just that presence, that command. Olivia has it, Paige has it in her way. Like I don't get that fully from Caitlin yet. And that's in that moment, in that possession with Asia, that's a moment where you see a player who has more of a command of that moment where it's like, listen, I'm going to get something, like I'll get something. It wouldn't look like that. It would look a lot stronger than that, right? So that even just that is a sample size of, you know, just how much more progress she has to make.
So my whole thing with her, I'll let you read that.
Sorry, Jeremy asked me if Marcus, there are actual elite players on Indiana who were the elite.
Yeah, you weren't comparing the teams. You were saying Caitlin would have to be like Iowa on a team with
because we don't look back at those Iowa teams and say there was another player rivaling the level of Caitlin Clark. That's what I'm saying. Because there are players on the Indiana Fever who you can look at. I said at the beginning of the season that Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, in conjunction with Caitlin Clark, were also top 10 players in the league. So if you're on a basketball team where you have 3 potential top 10 players, then what you did at Iowa, that means you have to do it at the WNBA at a completely different level because you're playing with other players on your team who can hold their own. Yeah. That's my point.
It's a totally different model.
That is my point.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark was able to be in conversations for and win a National Player of the Year at Iowa because it was Caitlin Clark and company. Yeah. And that's no disrespect to them.
30.
It is not
30 in college.
Yeah, it's not Caitlin Clark and company in Indiana. You have other all WNBA caliber talent that requires Caitlin to get to another level. I think she can get there. But until she gets there, bro, I'm not going to speak for them. Me personally, until she gets to that level, I don't want to talk about Caitlin Clark as an MVP because she hasn't gotten to that level where we can say she is far and away the best player on a team that has 2 other all league caliber talent. That's my only point.
Yeah. To the point about just who she needs to become, sycophantic fans do such a disservice to their favorite players because they want them to be the best right now without the work it takes to be the best. Like, y'all, I want Caitlin to be the best player that she can possibly be. And I've seen improvements, right? Like ever since the one where she was like, didn't get the tech, but was like cussing out that one ref, like court mics picking it up and everything. She's actually like, there was that one tech that got rescinded that I actually thought should have been rescinded, regardless of if we should rescind a bunch of other players' technicals that weren't, appropriate. But like her attitude's been better. She's been less of a defensive liability. She's seen some, but not a ton, turnover improvement. But also a lot of the stuff with the turnovers are opportunity cost of a style of play. And it's how you play when you're the fastest offense in WNBA history and the most prolific offense in WNBA history. That's just the truth, regardless of the rule development. So man, I just like, let's treat her like a high level basketball player, not like a Nepo kid. Yeah. Like y'all, like let's let her be great. Let's push her to be great, not like crown her before she'd done the work to do it.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I feel like she's fluctuated for me and for us when we've done our top 10 player rankings, like, because it's like I said before, there are times where she looks like a top 5. She's bona fide top 5, at the end of her rookie season. I'm like, man, I think she's one of the 5 best players. Coming off of that, I was like, she's one of the 5 best players to be right now in the league. And there are times where she slipped for me where I'm like, she's more like 7, 8, not like, that's why for me, there's fluctuation because I'm not there where I can say she's a bona fide top 5 player all the time yet. Like she hasn't really, like, it just kind of, it just kind of fluctuates for me. But, with the MVP thing, I do think she will and should get, she will get votes for like probably 3rd place, 4th place, like probably around there. I think that is possible and justified. I do. Just based on her impact. Again, the numbers. I think the numbers themselves, her averages, her ability, like I think there will be votes for her.
Yeah, and I think there will be two.
Not first to second play. I don't not like, you know, she's not, it's Asia and Liv, like we said before. Like it's them and everyone else.
Just for the sake of honesty, like I don't necessarily think it will be justified per se, but I think it'll be understandable based off of how a lot of people process the game. And that might sound a little paternalistic and patronizing, but like,
no, I think that I
do understand what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
I think Caitlyn will always get at least one MVP vote because she's just, you know, that well loved by enough people.
Well, and then look, like if you're a national TV viewer and you're just like, holy crap, this 45-10, you know, like, so I don't think everyone is entering into this in bad faith, but there's enough energy around this that leaves behind like so many layers of basketball truthfulness that, you know, like with Kelsey, crying out loud, like she's shooting 50, 40, like 87 at high volume. You know, she's 3-3-pointers away from being the first player in WNBA history to have 4 100 3-pointer seasons.
God.
And they're the last 4 seasons, 23, 24, 25.
Right. These last 4.
So like we've been watching this and somehow we've gotten, I mean, somehow, I think I know how, but like we've gotten the calculus really weird. So well, I'll say it. I would have Kelsey Mitchell as third on my ballot this year.
Yeah, no, and I think that's fair. Kelsey Mitchell will be probably should be first team all WNBA again. So
yep.
yeah.